everybody. Hello, welcome to my live. Nice to see you guys here. Just a moment while I adjust this. Okay. There we go. All right. How are you guys doing? I hope you all are doing well. So, in this live, I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how the Olympics are changing Japan because the Olympics are coming. We are less than a year away. We've got, I want to say, about 8 months or 9 months to go. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit about how things are changing in Japan because of these impending Olympics. So I'm going to be reading some of these comments and then I'll let you guys know more of that information a little bit later. So let me read some. All right, Cindy Otaka says hi. Hi, Cindy. And Kira Lyrical Muse, welcome back. Thank you for your consistent support. Okay, so the first thing that has changed in Japan as far as the Olympics are concerned is the aggressiveness of the English implementation into society. And I mean specifically in the schools. So I was an English teacher last year, and even now I have like a little side thing going on where I am teaching English to various individuals. And I've noticed that in Japan, there is a greater need for English speakers in society. And even when I was back in Gunma Prefecture teaching English to my elementary school that I noticed I was in transition from the old curriculum to the new curriculum, and I noticed that the new curriculum was so much more aggressive with their method of teaching English, that they were implementing more lessons per week, that they were implementing more quizzes, more presentations in that curriculum, and that generally there was a lot more expected of the students as far as what they said and how much they were learning in general. It seemed uh, a little rushed to me back when I was first learning about how the system of teaching was going. It seemed kind of rushed to teach all of the students everything that was going on, like a year before the Olympics was coming. It seemed a lot like procrastination to me, but I realized that that is just a part of the way that they do things here, and that's just it's a given. And so I've taken that as the culture, but that is one thing that has incredibly been influenced by the change of the Olympics coming very soon. Okay, I'm gonna read more of these comments and then I'll go to the second one. Okay, just one moment, and let me know if you guys can hear me clearly, so that we can keep this smooth and natural. Okay, let me read some of these comments. Nia, hi Nia. Nia says, "Hey girl, how you doing?" I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's a nice day. I'm about to go out and do some shopping after this live, but I wanted to come and bring this to you guys because I touched on this topic a little earlier in a previous video, but I wanted to dedicate a video specifically to this topic because it's becoming more and more relevant. Like 2020 is like it's like October, November, December. Like it's 2 months away. Like we're so close to 2020. So this is extremely relevant, and I want to talk to you guys about this. But yeah, overall I'm doing good. I'm happy. Yeah, I'm out here living, and I just called my family too, so I'm feeling extra good. I feel like I've got extra energy, and I'm ready to share this stuff with you guys. So yeah, I'm doing good. Okay, let's continue down. Um, Jepadonatari. Jeopard and Natalie? Maybe? Says, I'm sick and can't stay up, but wanted to say hi and I will watch your video later. Thank you so much for staying. I know I saw you in the last video too. Thank you so much for coming. Okay. Erin Alvena says, hi, hi. And Real Dreamers Change the World says, heart. Heart to you too. Lavetta Weibel says, hello all. Hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And Toximi Toxic says, they work better under pressure then. I want to say yes. There's definitely a very like deadline focused culture here, and people strive very hard to be the best for any given occasion. So I want to say that yes, they do work very well under pressure. And next, yeah, Moses says that's wonderful to hear. Thank you. All right, now let's continue. Let's continue on. Oh, yes, I wanted to give you guys a bit of a story time. So, this story time actually comes from yesterday. Yes, yesterday. I went to the supermarket here in Tokyo in Nakagami. It was called Inageya Supermarket. So, I went to the supermarket and I was shopping for my things and I lined up and I went to go check out. And I was, of course, speaking in Japanese to the lady because, of course, and she was like, I am so relieved that you speak English. And I was like, really? She's like, yeah, I was so worried that you wouldn't speak Japanese. And wait, no, sorry, I got that wrong. She said that she was so excited that I spoke Japanese because she could not speak English, and that she was so relieved that I could speak Japanese because with the Olympics coming, she felt more and more pressure to learn English, even though she had like zero English ability. And so I was telling her, like, yeah, like I speak Japanese, there's no need to worry. But there are more like English speakers like coming more and more. Like, how do you plan to cope with all of these new English speakers who don't know Japanese? And she's like, I don't know. I think I'll just have to study on my own so that I can handle like these new English speakers coming. And that's what she told me. And I was like, wow, like people are really out here stressing because of these Olympics because people are they're literally not prepared for the influx of immigrants coming into Japan like through tourism mainly, and a lot of people like me who are coming through English um like teaching programs, like a lot of them aren't prepared. Like a lot of people don't know Japanese, no, don't know English to the proficiency where they can, like for example, check someone out or help someone even at the airport. Like people are really pushing themselves for the Olympics for the sake of the Olympics. And I think that's something to convey to all of you. So I think I always push in my videos that people who are interested in coming to Japan that they learn Japanese because it is so important to be able to relate to the natives in their native language, and you will get the most out of your situations, I believe, if you speak their native language. But people here also feel the pressure to relate to you because the Olympics brings a certain, it's like a status symbol in a sense, like having the Olympics come, and they want to maintain that certain level of prestige through knowing the language and through being able to give you that positive experience. But those of you who are coming for Olympics, I don't know if any of you are coming for the Olympics or not, but it is so important for you to be able to speak the language so that you can actually get the most out of your experience here. Okay? So, yeah, that is like that actually happened literally yesterday. And to be honest, that was kind of the highlight of my day cuz she was really nice. Like we had the conversation in Japanese. So like mind you, it wasn't English, and her English level was fairly low, but she was just such a nice woman. Like she was nice to me. Like she was kind. We had a good conversation. She was checking me out, and her next customer had come, and like we were still kind of talking, so like we kind of had to cut it short, but like she was a nice lady. And that, as I mentioned, like kind of like grains of rice, if you consider every experience you have as a grain of rice, that was a grain of rice that was really nice for me. Like it just adds to the bowl. um but yeah, I highly suggest that you guys like study at least a little bit of Japanese, know the basic phrases so that you can come here and enjoy yourself without worrying about being misunderstood. All right. All right, let me continue. Panda Posse. Ugh, English is hard to learn, especially as a native Japanese speaker. I'm sure. I'm sure. Believe me, when I was first teaching English, I did not believe that English was that difficult of a language to learn. I thought that English is very straightforward, but of course, as a native English speaker, I am biased because I was born speaking English. But it was finally when I had first started teaching English to Japanese speakers, native Japanese speakers, that I realized that so many concepts of English are so difficult to grasp because we have so many rules that we break constantly. Like there is always an exception to a rule. And as far as Japanese goes, they follow most of their rules like almost to the T every time. Yes, yes, Teddy, you said it. Because here, I'm telling you, in English, we just it's hard to learn in general. It's really difficult to learn English as a non-English speaker like ESL, like English as a second language. It's pretty difficult. And teaching ESL has given me that insight. Okay, I'm gonna read more of these comments and then I'm gonna continue on. I got my phone here and I'm gonna talk to you guys more about some of the things that I've noticed are different. Okay, Toxumi Toxic says that that's very generous of them. Yeah, they're very they're very accommodating, I'll say. Like Japanese are very good with hospitality and they really know what they're doing as far as how to make you feel comfortable. And that's why I say that if you ever come to Japan, the best thing you can do for your host is to eat the food that they prepare for you and to enjoy yourself because that's all they want. That's literally all they want for you when you come and visit them. So keep that in mind and you'll enjoy your time. Right? So Real Dreamers Change the World says, I love that name. I bet everyone is relieved when they hear your Japanese. Haha. Yes, I think most people are relieved when they hear that I speak Japanese because a lot of foreigners that visit Japan do not speak Japanese proficiently to the point where they can rely solely on Japanese when they're talking to others. So when I do go to places like the supermarket, like the post office, like when I'm meeting with friends, when I'm going to the club and I'm trying to talk to some guy, like people really appreciate that I speak Japanese because most people don't speak English that proficiently. Even though there was a very strong push for English to be taught here in Japan, there are very few ways that it is encouraged in society in the sense that someone may be able to read English fluently, but they cannot speak it for anything because there's no way for them to speak it. So when you come here and you speak Japanese, like they are that much more appreciative of you. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna continue on. Next way that they're preparing for the Olympics is that they are constructing, or should I say, rebuilding a stadium, an old stadium used for a previous Olympic competition, and that is the 1964 stadium. They are renewing it for 2020, and there is a lot of money going in to that stadium, and it's coming out of the taxes, and I feel like certain people feel maybe ever so slightly resentful of foreigners because we are the ones who are creating that need for the renewal of that stadium, which is taking money out of their taxes, which is creating a certain kind of tension. And it's not huge. Like most people understand that the Olympics is in general for the greater good of Japan and that we are bringing a lot of tourism and a lot of money in general to Japan. So a lot of them don't complain about it, but it is bringing a lot of foreigners as well. So they're not 100% okay with it either. Okay, let me read more of these comments and then we'll continue. Cynthia Taku says, I'm afraid of going to Japan one day and my level of Japanese won't be high enough. I will say that being in Tokyo, compared to where I was in Gunma, there are a lot more people who speak English. So when I say that most people don't speak proficient English, I do mean that there aren't too many people who speak English, I guess, at this level where we can have this kind of deep conversation and there be very few lulls, very few awkward moments because we both understand like not only the language but the cultural implications of, for example, like my body language. Like there are very few Japanese people who understand that. However, there are more Japanese people than there would be like in a rural area that understand. So if you go to any, for example, in Shinjuku or Shibuya or any kind of like very, very concentrated like city-like environment, if you go there, like chances are you will find someone like at nearly every store who speaks English enough to give you the service that you need. So it's not like necessarily a concern if you're just traveling here. If you're just traveling here, I believe that you'll be fine. But if you're staying here long term, I think it's worth it to know at least a little bit of Japanese. Okay, maybe a little bit more. Uh, yes, I read this one earlier. Teddy25 says, we have a ridiculous amount of idioms in our language. Yes, English, I'm telling you, it's so much easier to teach Japanese than it is to teach English, and I'll tell you that right now. And that is because Japanese, like, you literally have to kind of forget English to learn Japanese. Because in English, there are so many specific rules that go into knowing the language, that it's just easier if you're raised on the language, I think, personally. Um, People may feel differently, but I think it's the easiest way to learn English is just to be raised on English, and to, because you'll have those many, many years for that language to be implemented into your life. All right, so let me continue a little bit more. Toxic Sumi Toxic says, English is pretty broken by the looks of things. Yeah, English takes a lot of influences from many different languages. There are romantic influences into English. There are Germanic influences into English. And there are also form words that are implemented into English. So it's very difficult for a culture that maybe has many, many hundreds of years of their culture being concentrated into the language, whereas we as English speakers have so many different countries that speak our language, so there are many different ways to speak English properly, and it's considered proper in many different ways depending on where you are. So yes, it's a long story short, it's tricky. It's very tricky. um, but I will say a tip for those of you who are interested in teaching English here in Japan, that there is a certain level of, like, how should I say, a certain level of favoritism shown to American English or Canadian English, British English as well, but like Australian English or like Indian English, South African English, like they're seen a little differently as, I guess you could say, the predominant levels of English, the predominant forms of English, I guess you could say. So there is a hierarchy here, and I want you guys to be aware of that, because I know that many of you are interested in coming here and teaching English potentially in the future. So just be mindful of that. Um, of that. Just be mindful of that. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna read a little bit more, so you guys will know a little bit more. I'm sorry. I know I'm like super close to the camera right now, but it's just because I want you guys to hear what I'm saying. Okay. Next is, as far as food service goes, I've noticed that in restaurants and bars and cafes, there are a lot more English menus. And the only reason why I say that this is because I've come to Japan, like this is my third time in Japan. I came to Japan once before, last year in January, because I had won a speech contest and I kind of want an opportunity to come to Japan, for like a week basically. And I had gone to like several restaurants and like establishments. And I had also come when I was in high school. I was a sophomore in high school. I want to say like 2015, maybe 2015, 2016. I was back in Japan, for the first time, and I had seen like what it was like back then. And compared to now, there are so many more opportunities, so many more chances, so many more establishments that offer English menus and English speaking client, like English speaking not customers, English speaking workers, in their restaurants, and they cater more to English speaking clientele than ever before, in my experience. Right? That's what I've noticed. So I think that if you come to Japan for the Olympics, like compared to now, I think that business is booming. So there will be so many more restaurants that offer English speaking services or English menus, or just even just English entertainment in general. Right. And let me continue on. Yes. And this one is special for vegans and vegetarians who are interested in coming to Japan. I've noticed that there are so many more vegan and vegetarian restaurants here in Japan. And given, I'll say an exception is that there are a lot of Indian restaurants here, Indian and like Nepalese um, restaurants here that cater heavily to a vegetarian audience. So that's kind of excluded in that. But as far as Japanese restaurants go, I've noticed that there are more and more restaurants that cater specifically to vegetarian and vegan clientele. Actually, in Tokyo Station, if any of you go to Tokyo Station, it's a very famous station. There are many foreigners there every hour of the day. But if you go to Tokyo Station, there is a place called Tea's Tantan, and I was there. I was commuting from one place to another, and I had stopped there for lunch. And I had gone there, and I was talking to them, of course, in Japanese. And I was like, do you get a lot of like clients here that eat like vegan and vegetarian? They're like, yeah. Like I want to say like over half of our clientele is specifically foreign, and that like kind of like lit off a light bulb for me because it shows that there are so many more foreigners coming and the influence is definitely there. Um, in my time, I've been in Tokyo like not that long, like only a couple months, but in my time in Tokyo, I've seen a lot of restaurants. I've been to many different like vegetarian or vegan restaurants that have like either foreigners working there or they have Japanese people that speak English or some other kind of foreign language. So it's definitely gaining momentum here in Japan. Yeah. So that's another thing I've noticed too. All right. And I've got one more, but before I read this last one, I want to read some of these comments. So let me read some. So now Cool says, sometimes I'll write or read a common word and think it's weird. Yeah, I will say there are so many exceptions to so many rules in English. English is not an easy language to learn. I'll tell you that. Because depending on where you are and depending on if you're speaking casually or formally, what is considered correct or incorrect changes like drastically. And that's a big thing with English. So, best of luck to you. English is not for the faint-hearted. I think English actually might be more difficult than Japanese, to be honest. To be totally honest with you, I think that English might be more difficult than Japanese. Let's continue. Trying to learn kanji but not used to it. Yeah, kanji. For those of you who don't know, Japanese language has three alphabets. There's hiragana, katakana, and kanji. Hiragana is used as the most simple alphabet. When I was in my elementary school and I would sit in on the first and second grade and third grade classes, they're learning hiragana, and that is the most simple way to learn Japanese. The second is katakana, and katakana is used for foreign words, foreign phrases, or when you're trying to say something that comes from a language that is outside of Japan. And then third is kanji, and kanji is derived from Chinese. And so those are the characters. You see like one character and it means a word. Okay? Um, so kanji is hard. I'm just gonna say that right now, like to a Westerner, because we don't have any kind of equivalent to that in Western language. That is kind of what I meant when I said that you kind of need to forget English in order to learn Japanese, because there is a certain how should I say, you access a different part of your brain when you learn kanji. I genuinely believe. And there are four general skills. There's reading, writing, listening, and speaking. And of course, speaking and listening, reading and writing are together. But oof, I'm telling you, I am best at speaking and listening, and I am terrible at reading and writing, and it tends to be vice versa as well. I have a friend right now who is placed in Ota, which is in Kyushu, which is one of the southern islands of Japan, and she's good at reading and writing, but she cannot really speak to save her life. So it really varies. It really varies. But yeah, kanji's hard, especially if you're like a talker like me. Like, I find kanji hard because I am way better at speaking. I am like more easily able to convey my feelings and thoughts through speech than through writing. So I can totally relate to you in that sense, Erin. And I really hope that you stick with it though, because I am better now. And it does take time. It's a process, and you have to trust that process because it will get better. It will. It really, really will. Okay. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to like type them in, and I will answer those. There's not like too many of you in here, so I'm pretty sure if you ask a question, I'll answer it. But anyway, before we get there, I'm going to read a little bit more about what changed about Japan as far as the Olympics are concerned. And the last one is that there are more English signs and directions. And when I say this, I mean that at face value, there are more signs that have English on them. Um, Even before the Olympics were here, there were signs that would lead you to a certain direction or would tell you where something is in English. But I've noticed that they are more common nowadays. And just general like signs in general, like stop, slow down, yield, like there's more of them in English as far as I've noticed here in Japan. So that is a big one as well. Yeah. Okay. So if you guys have any other questions, we'll continue this live for a little bit longer. I don't want to take it too far, but if you guys have any questions about my experience here in Japan and how the Olympics is or isn't changing Japan, feel free to ask. Okay, let's see. Kiri Lyrical Muse says, I heard that if you stay in Tokyo, you are fine only knowing basic Japanese, but if you travel outside of it, like Kyoto, you are SOL. So I will say that in the biggest cities like Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, Sapporo, and Fukuoka, and Nagoya, if you want to count Nagoya as well, in those cities, you could probably get away with just speaking English. I'm not going to say that it's going to be easy, but it's significantly easier in those big cities to speak English. But I do think that basic Japanese helps. Like you mentioned, basic Japanese helps because at the end of the day, those people who are trying their best at English, they're still Japanese at the end of the day. And if you want to get the most out of your experience with them, it is better to speak their native tongue because at the end of the day, you are in their country and it is a certain level of respect for you to speak their language too. Okay. Sanel Cool says, I was planning to come to Japan maybe within the next 2 years, but I'm afraid of things may be a bit crazy with the Olympics. Should I come next year or just wait? I would say if I had this conversation with my younger sister like right before I came on here, because she wants to come to Japan. But I would say next year is not a very good year to come to Japan. I'll say that right now. And that is, as you said, because of the Olympics. The Olympics, just from the Olympics, the ticket prices will be higher. There are a lot more foreigners here, so you'll have a lot less of a personal experience because you are just one of thousands coming here to Japan. So I would say if you want to come here for like a personal, like just relaxational kind of trip, just to come and see the country, I would say to wait a year. I would say to wait. The Olympics are over, I want to say like in August, like late August, early September is when maybe like things will start to die down. I will say anything after that is fair game. And I'll say the tickets are probably a lot cheaper anyway. So that is the best time to come. Okay. All right. Let's see. Shanice J says, I'm not sure if you answer this, but are you going to teach again in Tokyo? No, I'm not going to teach again in Tokyo. And the main reason why I say this is because when I first came to Japan, I knew that teaching English is the most lucrative job, the most common job here. But personally, this is not what I want to do in Japan. I came here to be a talent. I wanted to come and be in commercials and be in dramas and be in the entertainment scene. However, they aren't as open to having foreigners come and do that here, especially if you are not the image that they want. So no, I wouldn't be an English teacher again. And to be honest, I would go back to America before I teach English again. Yeah, if that answers your question. Let's see. I don't know why, but I didn't think you were a real person until now. I'm not sure why, Captain Jojo Jr. Two juniors. Um, yeah, I'm as real as the sun is hot right now, surprisingly for October. But yeah, like I am a real person. So yeah. Let's see. Panda Posse says, "Are there problems from the North Korean missile tests?" Um, Not that I've noticed so far. So far, I haven't noticed any issues. There was kind of like a missile scare last year. Or was that this year? I think it was earlier this year. There was a bit of a missile scare going on. But I don't believe that Japan would be the target for for any kind of missile crisis. I think that if anything, if there were to be a missile targeted at someone, I don't think it would be Japan personally. I don't think it would be Japan at all. But yeah. See, continuing on. Toxic Semi Toxic says, "Have you ever seen Beeb able to speak Spanish? I know it's a thing, but I've only seen one person speak it in a documentary type video." Actually, yes. Surprisingly, there is a higher demand for English speakers here in Japan, there is a higher demand for Spanish speakers and French speakers here in Japan as well. And I have met some Japanese people who actually speak Spanish better than they speak English, believe it or not. So yeah, it is not far fetched. I'll tell you that. And yes, there are Spanish speakers here in Japan. So now Cool says, "For you, how do you think it will be seeing more foreigners?" Um, I think it'll be kind of mixed. Even now it feels kind of mixed. Like I feel like my first reaction is like joy because being here in Japan, it can be very isolating as a foreigner because there aren't many foreigners in general. So when you see another foreigner, whether they be your same race or of a different race, you feel a certain connection to them because at the end of the day, you two share a similar experience and the sense of being immigrants to this new place, right? But I think over time, especially as the Olympics get closer and closer, because I am seeing more and more foreigners popping up, I feel like I'll start to get a little desensitized to it and maybe mm, feel kind of relate to the Japanese people as well. Because, like I've mentioned before in previous videos, I'm not a tourist here. Like I actually am a resident of Japan. So I think maybe as more foreigners come, I'll start to relate more to how the natives feel. But yeah, as for now, like I'm ecstatic when I see foreigners. Oh my goodness. Recently I had a job at a lounge and I was like handing out flyers and I saw these two black girls come and I was like, hello. I was like, oh my goodness, you guys are such a breath of fresh air and we had this great conversation. It was so nice. And yeah, I feel like for now, because I am also very new to this area, I relate more to the foreigners than I do to the native Japanese people. Let's see. Captain Jojo Jr. says the tea is hot. Yes, piping hot. Yes, tea is boiling. Let me tell you that. Kira Camus says, okay, weird question, but what is the craziest flavor of Japanese snacks you've tried? Craziest flavor? I want to say sweet potato, but sweet potato isn't that crazy. I tried like cup noodle flavored chips. Cup noodle flavor. I've also tried plum flavored chips. I've tried a lot of stuff. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I think that's about it. Um, I plan on trying more like I mean, I've never done a video where I try like strange Japanese flavors in front of the camera, but I'm open to try it. in front of the camera for you guys to see my reaction to strange flavors. And I'll be visiting America very soon, so maybe I can do one with my little sister. And she is very similar to me in the sense that we have like very similar personalities, and I think you guys will enjoy that. But anyway, let me read more of these. The cup noodle flavored chips sells it, girl. Yes, cup noodle. I was shook. I was like, whoa, like this is a thing. This is a thing. But yeah, it's a thing. Continuing on. Have you ever heard of bean flavored chips? Yes. There are like uncle, like azuki, which is like a red bean, but it's like sweet. Like that flavor of chips. I've heard of that before. So yeah. What's your go-to food? My go-to food. I don't know. I cook a lot for myself. So if I really want a food, I usually just cook it. But my go-to food, like quick food, I guess like a fast food, would probably be. That's tough. That's really tough. There's so many foods here. In a convenience store, I would say probably like yakisoba pan or croque pan, which is like croquette in bread or like yakisoba, and that's what I eat. Like if I want something quick and fast and it's like within reach, then that's what I go for. Okay. Stephen Rosario says, not really a question. You have nice hair. Thank you very much. Kira Lickme says, I would totally buy ramen chips. Are there square watermelons there? There are, but they're not as common as people think. Square watermelons are definitely seasonal. Japan is very seasonal as far as vegetables go, and the summer is what you use for watermelon. So here in the fall, it's more like persimmons and apples and what else? There's still bananas around. But yeah, it's very seasonal here in Japan. But summer is for watermelons, and you will find a square watermelon. You'll find a square watermelon, but it's not as common as people think. And last question I'll answer. Last one's last. End this very soon. Do they have veggie fast food in Japan? Yes, they do. They have veggie fast food, like towards Shinjuku Shibuya area. I will let you know. Like it's, yeah, they have it. They have it. And actually, there is a vegan food festa going on the 20th that I'm gonna try and get to, so I can show you guys what's going on there and hopefully get some yumminess in my belly. Stephen Rosera says, that was dumb of me. LOL. Here's a real question. Do you have any other types of restaurants in Japan like Italian? Yes. There is so much Italian food. They love Italian food here. They love Indian food, like Indian curry. There are Thai restaurants, of course, Japanese ramen restaurants, and other kinds of Japanese food like sushi and stuff like that. There are also like American themed restaurants. So they have like burger joints and stuff. They have like Moss Burger, and of course, there's McDonald's. There's so many different kinds of food here. I do not doubt you'll be able to find what you want. Like, there's so many different kinds of food, and they're so open. They love to cook and they love presentation. So your food is gonna taste good, but it's also gonna look very, very pretty. So yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyway, you guys, I'm gonna end this video now, but thank you so much for tuning in. If you like this video, then please hit the like button so I know that you like this kind of thing. And if you want to see more, then please hit subscribe. I am planning more videos in the future, and I do have a giveaway planned if that is extra incentive for you to press subscribe. So please subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. I hope that you guys have a great day or a great night, depending on where you are, and I will see you in my next video coming out in a couple of days. So please hang tight, okay? Anyway, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.